Welcome to Ghost Stories with me, your host, Arthur Mansley, and my wonderful assistant, Beth.
I'm wonderful this week, yes.
Yes. Join us as we traverse across the continental United States, interviewing ghouls, ghosts, goblins, and everything in between, in an attempt to bridge the gap between monstrosity and humanity and demystify the mystic. Today, join us in Tucson, Arizona, as we interview our first ghost here on Ghost Stories. Yes, it took us 3 episodes, but we made it. Now, welcome. Gary, is it?
I'm equivocally known as Gunslinger Gary.
My apologies. I forgot your honorific title. Gunslinger Gary. Now, Gary, you are, as the name implies, an old gunslinger's ghost.
Well, I wouldn't say old. I'm rather young. I'm hip. I can get down with it, but I am a gunslinger nonetheless.
Right. Well, I suppose we should just jump right into my first question. Now, apologies if this is a delicate subject, but would you mind going into a little detail about your ghostification? Like, what has made you linger in this world beyond your natural life?
Well, we're just getting right into it then. You see, there are a couple things that I have left to do in this world that have led me to my ghostly state. First of all, I didn't actually know that I died, so I was just kind of like I had things to do. I had people to see. I had guns to sling, so I just remained slinging guns.
So you became a ghost, and it was just business as usual for you.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say business, more is just like murder, you know.
Oh, okay.
As gunslingers do. But, you know, it is business, you know, strictly. So I had some of that, but it was mainly just like, as soon as I realized that I had been, you know, ghostified, that is when I kind of came out, and I would say, well, you know, that my rival, he's still kicking around, so I got to get him before I cross over.
So it's a long-standing rivalry that tethers you to this realm.
Indeed it is, yeah.
Oh my. And if you don't mind me asking, who is this rival? Is it someone, are you keeping tabs on him, or has he vanished into the sands of time yet to be found?
I think he's dead by now. I kind of gave up on it a few years back just because I started therapy, and I figured, you know, maybe it was good to just let all that stuff go. But, you know, he's Billy the Kid. They made a ballet about him, and I'm kind of pissed about that. So that's what I'm trying to go for. That's my new goal. Get a ballet made about
Everybody's seen the famous Billy the Kid ballet, of course. I didn't know that you had connections to Billy the Kid.
Well, it was more so like I looked up to him when I was a little boy, when I was a little tot, and he just really didn't care about me at all, and I figured, well, I'm gonna get him to see me, and I did, but it didn't work out too well on my end.
So you did encounter Billy the Kid in life?
I did, yes, quite a few times.
Could you tell us about your first encounter with Billy the Kid?
Well, my first one, I was perusing on my horse Friday. And
just on Friday.
On Friday, coincidentally,
okay. Yes.
it was. I was perusing with my horse, and I pulled up to this tavern that it was some old watering hole out in the desert, and I said, "Boy, I need to get me some scotch," and I did, in fact. And I perused on up to the saloon maiden, and I said, "1 scotch, please." And lo and behold, this dude sitting next to me is Billy the Kid. And I look over and I say, "You're Billy the Kid." He says, "Do I know you?" And that just set me off. So that's when I just kind of started going ham on him, started beating him up.
Beating up Billy the Kid? Oh, my.
Immediately. He said, "Sorry, who are you?" And I didn't even introduce myself at that point, even though he would not have known me at all. I felt like he needed a good whack.
You know, they never mention any of this in the Billy the Kid ballet. His initial trouncing by an upstart young youth.
Well, you know, they cut a lot of shit out of that ballet that should have been in it, and you know, it wasn't exactly truthful, everything they put in there, and you know, it made it a little bit more difficult. They couldn't speak because it was ballet, you know.
Right. So you mentioned earlier your own wishes to have your own ballet. would this be a ghost ballet, or would this be a ballet about your pre-death life?
I'm not one to discriminate. Sorry, I'm a little confused. I'm not one to discriminate, but I think maybe if we had like Act 1 pre-death and then Act 2 like post-death, that was what's always run through my head. But I'm just like,
So the ballet will encompass your entire existence as a being, an entity.
Well, I guess.
Well, that is fantastic and fascinating. Well, thank you for sharing your dreams with us. Well, until your such time as this dream is realized, how do you occupy yourself? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I wake up in the morning. I feed my ghost horse Friday.
Oh, right. I just understood something you mentioned earlier. Sorry.
The horse's name is
Yes, I. It's like that old joke, but sorry. Continue.
What
You
joke?
feed your ghost horse.
There's a joke about my horse.
Well, I mean, it's like a cowboy rides into town on a Friday and stays 3 days and leaves on Friday or something like that. And the horse it's irrelevant. But yes, there is a joke.
What do you do to occupy your time?
Well, all right. Well, what I do, I wake up, I feed my ghost horse Friday because
That's a
she's
joke.
got to get her carrots in, and then I make some slob for myself. Usually, just mash up some potatoes. I don't eat them because I have no need to, but I like to feel like I can.
Do you still taste or like pretend to eat the food and just throw it through your ethereal form, or?
Yeah, I usually just take the whole bowl and just like all at once just shove it in my face, and it just kind of splashes on the wall behind me. So then I clean that up after breakfast, and then I after that I usually polish my gun collection.
Oh, really?
I got 4 pistols and 2 shotguns for now. I'm trying to expand, but ghost money's hard to come by.
It's hard to get a shooting license or a gun license as a dead person. Yes, typically.
Well, in the Wild West, you don't really need a license. You just kind of grab them and go. I had a gun in my hand as soon as I popped out of my mama.
Oh, really?
I did. I popped out and they said, well, it kind of comes with the name Gunslinger Gary. It's kind of implied that...
Oh, so Gunslinger is like a birth name. It's not just a title or honorific you've earned.
Oh, no, that is my full legal name.
On your birth
Gunslinger
certificate.
Gary.
Oh, my, I apologize. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's a family name, the Gunslingers. I can't actually remember my last name. Maybe it'll come to me. I don't know. You lose things as a ghost in death, Well, you wouldn't know. You're not dead, but...
Well, I've talked to a few ghosts in my time. I've got 30 years as a paranormal interviewer.
So he tells me.
Well,
I wouldn't know anything about that. I wouldn't know how accurate that is. But I mean, if you say that, then and you do that, old man.
Gary, I have a couple of questions if you don't mind. So in terms of your ethereal form, you say that you can pick things up, but you also say that things pass through you. Is that do you have like a will? Do you have choice in that matter? Or is it different areas? Like you can use your hands, but the rest of your body is not?
very good question, Beth. Very good.
Well, it's kind of like the longer you're dead, the more control you get over your ghostly form. And you kind of have to work for it. And frankly, I don't really care all that much. But I cared about my hands because, all I needed was my hands and my waist. So I could put my gun on and I could use it. That's all I really needed. And then also, so I could sit on my horse. Friday, the horse, yes. So I could sit on my horse. I had to get my waist in there so I could get myself all situated on her. And, of course, she had to work to get her back corporeal, I believe is the word.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Sounds
accurate.
right.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm gathering here is, the longer you are dead, the more corporeal you can become.
Well, usually that is the case. It kind of depends on each ghost and just how they're kind of working with it. But it's a certain point. It has a portion of just like it matters how long you've been dead, just because like you have to be able to build up that corporealness again over time. So time plays a factor into it, but obviously some people can do it quicker than others.
Do you know many other ghosts, or are you mostly solo?
Well, I have meetings I go to every few weeks. We get together and we have a little book club.
A ghost book club.
Well, yeah, mainly it's my good friend Sally Saloon, and she just kind of excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. She just kind of tells us all, hey, read this book, and she forgets every week that we can't read. So we just all go and sit there in silence for a little bit.
You say you can't read. Is everybody just independently illiterate, or is this a ghost thing where ghosts are unable to read?
I would like you to imagine what the Wild West was like growing up. There weren't many school options as there are today.
Well, now that you are in the state of undeath that you are, clearly I think you would have more time to literate yourself.
Well, you think, but you can't teach an old dog new tricks all the time, so I just usually, I've kind of given up on, I don't really find a need for it.
Right. Well, you would think you would need it to be in a book club, but...
It's more for Sally's sake we all go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for the camaraderie.
Yeah, there's not very many Gunslinger old Wild West ghosts left anymore, so we just kind of have to stick together as a little family.
How many are in your club?
About 7.
7, yes.
Yeah.
And all from the Wild West?
Well, we got Sally Saloon. We got, there's Timmy in there. He's a little boy. He's a little one. He didn't get a nickname yet, so he's just kind of hanging
he's
out.
Timmy. I don't think a Timmy would need a nickname.
Yeah.
That's already a nickname for Timothy.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. I don't know if his mama named him Timmy or if he just kind of is called that, but either way it works.
Yes. The ghost who is called Timmy. Quite famous in ethereal circles, I hear.
I have another question, Gunslinger Gary. You say that this group is all from the same era. Do you commiserate about the past and adapt to the modern times? Like, how do you, I suppose, in yourself and as a group, how do you understand the modern era?
Well, every once in a while we'll get together, and it's usually Timmy that'll have to teach it to us because he's a little young whippersnapper and he can get it all figured out. But yeah, I feel like, right around, when the government started actually doing something with the West, that was a big point of contingency between all of us when people started building, houses and stuff, not just little shacks and like one road towns. That was kind of a big first intersection. That was a big contender.
I can't even imagine the first traffic light or stop sign.
Oh, it was
big news.
It truly was. And every once in a while, someone will come in. They'll be all in a tizzy about some new invention that the living people have come up with. But we've just kind of learned to just roll with the punches and kind of just go with it, because it's not like we're really going to have to use them or participate in modern life all that much. So
any involvement with just technology in general, like cell phones, the internet, or
well, I did fancy YouTube when it came out, but I found every time I would try to go use the phone, it would just start fizzling out. And it would just start speaking nonsense.
Really? Is that just some negative interaction with your ectoplasmic form, or?
Well, it's usually like as a ghost, if I try to interact with televisions or radios, it usually is just some form of static. So when I try to get to the YouTubes, it was just not very
Right.
Nice.
Now that you mention, I believe I saw a documentary called Paranormal Activity or something that showed very similar things happening on camera.
Well, that docu-series is rather controversial as in my community, because it portrayed some aspects that were fairly accurate, like the interaction with technology. But it made us out mean. It made us mean, and we're not very mean. I mean, unless you do something to piss us off. But
if you were to do your own documentary series or ballet, as we mentioned earlier, how would you alter this perception of ghosts to be more positive?
I would show our book club, just because I think it would it would really help all the kids in the book club, all of us. I'd probably show, just the day-to-day life of what being a ghost is like, how it's not really that different from being alive. But, you still have some excitement. Like, we like to pull pranks on each other. Back when my horse Friday was still alive, I'd scare the daylights out of her. I'd just pop up right through the wall in the saloon, and she'd be standing outside, tied up on that post that I left her at. And she would just freak out every time. And sometimes I pretend to be a snake, freak her out like that.
So you passed before your horse?
Well, yeah, usually it doesn't work out like that. His horse don't have that long of a life expectancy. But, I didn't really either without modern inventions like penicillin. So I couldn't really be expected to last that long either. Unfortunately, I did pass before Friday.
Well, my condolences. And I'm sure Friday lived a full and happy life before passing themselves.
Well, let's see. I died on a Thursday before Friday.
As most Thursdays are.
Well, also before the horse, Friday.
Ah, right. Sorry, I get confused.
Friday died on a Saturday. Ironically enough, it was just a few days after.
Oh.
So yeah.
How terrible.
I played the snake prank a few too many times on him, and he just keeled over.
Oh no, that is dreadful. I am so sorry. It's terrible when a pet can't take a joke. Trust me, I've had more than a few guinea pigs give me the old 4-foot salute.
So, Gunslinger Gary, I have another question. You talk about the group of ghosts that you have. Are there groups of humans that you interact with that are currently living? I mean, other than us, because we're very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, well, actually, I got a couple buddies that put me in contact with you, and it's, oh, shoot, what's their name? It was my friends down in Tucson, Arizona, and they actually were living on my old property, so, I'm kind of tethered to it, so I like to stay close to home, as most people do, and it was just this lovely old couple. I think their names were Bert and, what was the other one? I won't say, no, it wasn't. It was Sam. It was Bert and Sam. It was them. They led me in your direction. They'd seen the episodes of ghost stories.
Oh, they were fans. We've got fans, Beth. We've got fans.
Okay, I do. Okay.
And they're spreading the word. Oh, sorry. That's just wonderful to know that our advertising is working.
Okay. What kind of advertising you guys putting out for this show?
Blimps.
Billboards.
Skywriting. Dream messages. The usual.
Writing on the beach.
Writing on the walls.
Underground. I like it.
Yeah.
Not mainstream. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, you mentioned you don't wander far from Tucson. You're tethered here. Is that by choice, or is this more of like a literal tether? You cannot leave your property within a certain distance? Because you were very insistent on us coming here to Tucson.
Yeah, that was more just a comfort thing. I don't really like to. Friday gets separation anxiety, so that's also part of the reason why he passed. She passed. So sorry, so close to me. But yeah, it's because it's more of a comfort thing personally. But I think the farthest a ghost can travel. Like if I wanted to head up to Kent, Ohio or something, I got a couple family members up in Kent.
Really?
I could go up there, but I could only stay for about 5 to 7 business days before, the Ghost Corporation says, all right, time to go.
You say of family members in Kent, Ohio. Are they like ancestors or descendants, or are they fellow ghosts?
They're actually Billy's family, but they don't really like him all that much. So I've kind of taken them under my wing.
Co-opted Billy the Kid's family to be your own.
I did, and he's not very happy about it. He's still trying to fight me in death, but I'm hanging out with his mama every Sunday. So.
Oh, Gary, you dog. Well, we're approaching the end of our time here, Gary. So one final question for you. I ask this to most of our guests. If you could take this opportunity to address the youth of America, this is your chance, your opportunity, your soapbox to stand on, as they say. What would you say to the youth of America, had you the chance?
Well, I would like to speak directly to the American Ballet Theater and say you're missing a real big opportunity here with Gunslinger Gary. There's some literature in a library in Tucson, Arizona that, I may have written myself, and it's not very legible. As we have stated, I cannot read. But, you could figure it out, I assume, and honestly, there's just a big opportunity for a ballet there that about my life. That's pretty fascinating, if I do say so myself. So that's what I want to say. Stay in school, kids.
Well, Gary, in the short time that I've come to know you, I would say that, yes, you are indeed quite fascinating.
I would agree.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing a small portion of your afterlife with us. I believe that is all we have time for. But this has been Ghost Stories with Arthur Mansley.
And Beth.
And Beth. And Gunslinger Gary.
Gunslinger Gary, coming at you.
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week on Ghost Stories.